don't know how long I'm gonna make this video. Do something easy. Uh, well, you guys already know what it is. Your boy Fast. Here you are in FAS Factory. This is my studio. It's where I create all my art. I got a lot of stuff on this side right here, but I don't have a cameraman right now. If things go good, I guess I can get one. That's my goal right now. I accomplished so much in my life. The only thing I never got to finish was pursuing art. I always follow like my heart when it came to art. When I was younger, I always sold little art things. I used to do graffiti hats, selling paintings and canvases. And then I remember I met somebody. I remember I used to do the graffiti hats in Times Square. I used to dress up like on holidays as like a teddy bear, and we just take pictures, just to hustle some money, because it was hard, to survive in New York. And why would you go work, 8 hours somewhere for like $7.50? I mean, I'm 35, so this was when I was like 16, 17, 18. It didn't make sense, but it's like I would go dress up as a teddy bear, and I would go to Times Square with my brother and some of his friends, and they had cameras, and they pay us, for that. And I'm like, man, you making some like $200 a day, It take me 3 months to make that in New York. So I used to do stuff like that. And then I met somebody one day, and then he told me, hey, have you checked out the store? They sell like these little spray paint figures or something like that. I didn't know what it was, but it was Kiro at the time. So I went to the Kiro store, and I went in there. I was like, man, they got these figures. They're so dope. And I was gonna buy a few, and they were telling me like, it was like $300, $400. I was like, nah, for that little graffiti figure, that plastic. And then they put me on how they're, their artist creations, and and then I got into that. I started customizing figures. People started to buy them. Yeah, it was fun. I loved it. And what led me to that was graffiti. That's the start of this graffiti. I grew up around graffiti. I lived in East New York, Faubourg Street, Grant Avenue. My mom lives in Autumn, under Cypress Hills. The J train. They have like this big wall there where Poem, Cope, so everybody would hit that up. It's crazy. I never met these guys. I've never seen them before. And there was on my block. There's days I would come out of school and the wall be painted. I'm like, man, hopefully I catch them at the school. I come out to school and the wall's done already. So I never met these guys, but they was always around. So when I was growing up in high school, me, seeing that in the street, like, this is cool as an art form, and at the time I would draw like Spawn, Witchblade, Danger Girl, I was into comics, so I would draw it, and I had teachers that were always there for me. When I was in 4th grade, I think it was in 3rd grade, Miss Bedell and Miss Miller when I was in 6th grade. Like, those are teachers that when I went to school, they treated me like if I was their, like, not their kid, but, they cared about you. School was different when I was growing up. And then I remember when I met Miss Miller in 2nd grade, I told her, hey, can I go to your class, when I'm in 6th grade? And when I got to 6th grade, she brought me into her class. Took me out of another classroom and said, hey, I forgot, 6th grade, you come to ours. We forgot, and they changed and did everything for me. But those teachers looked out for me, and they always pushed me to be an artist. They bought me art supplies because, my parents, they did their best, my family, I guess, but art wasn't a priority to them in my life. So I had stuff, but it wasn't the tools I needed to become better. So when I went to school, I was always drawing and painting, getting in trouble. And a lot of time when I was younger, like when I wouldn't go to school, I remember I would always draw. It was like my go-to thing. And then me growing up in New York, this graffiti, it's like, hey, I'm gonna start doing graffiti. And I started doing graffiti. I remember I would take like pieces of paper and I would do the graffiti, and then I would put laminate on them, and I would sew it on my backpack. And I had pictures, man. I used to sell those on JazzMat backpacks for like $50. This was when I was in high school. So I was making money. I would do little sketches. I would do stuff for people. So I always made money off of the art. I'm like, man, hopefully one day I could be this famous artist, this big, famous artist, because I'm making money off of this art and people are actually buying my creations. But at the time, it was all graffiti stuff, So it got to the point where graffiti was always around me growing up that I started doing graffiti. I was into bikes, I'm into BMX, all my friends growing up, we were all into BMX, skateboarding, downhill mountain biking, stuff like that. Growing up in New York and Queens in the 90s, man, it was the best life ever. There was a lot more. When I got into like the 2000s, there was more crime, more all this gangs and all this shit started coming into the neighborhood. We lived in a bad neighborhood, but it it got bad when you couldn't even come on your own block to go home because you got to watch your back. But that's what it is to grow up in New York. Growing up in New York is a jungle, guys. It's like I don't even know how to explain it. Like I see like graffiti everywhere, and then it's so and so got shot over graffiti. I used to be like, what? So that's why I never really got into like that side of the graffiti. Like I met people in high school that I walk around with my backpack with the graffiti, and they'd be like, hey, you right? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, you want to go bombing tonight? And I was like, nah, I don't know about all that. I got shit to do in the morning. That's another thing. Not that I want to sound wrong, but it's like growing up, I had ambitions. I wanted to beat somebody, be somebody. But it was hard for me to just say, hey, I'm gonna go out at 2 in the morning to go paint a wall. I want to go out and make some money tomorrow. That's the person that I was. Because even though I grew up good, I didn't have what I want. I had to go buy what I wanted. The bikes that I've had growing up, we couldn't have a car. So my bike was my car. So I used to buy the nicest bikes. And they were expensive. So I had to save my money and get my money up to get those things. So the last thing I was gonna do is paint, but it was things that I did. There was times I would ride my bike and we go to parts of Forest Park. We go under the bridge. We would paint down there. Stuff that is more kind of relaxed. And it was fun. But when I realized, like, when I got to a point of my life, cut that out, rewind. I got to a part in my life. Start over again right now. I got to a point in my life where I realized, like, hey man, like New York you ain't gonna make it here. Like you seen your past family live here, your friends, and so it goes on to the whole. If you stay here, you're gonna be doing the same thing for the rest of your life. You got to get out. And one of the things that I took with me everywhere I go was graffiti. And that's what this video about is. What I believe graffiti is the best forms of art expression in the world. It beats anything. I believe that because I feel like a lot of graffiti artists today, like, they don't know their value. Like, I've always heard people say, oh, you're not a real writer and you're making money off of the game, that's toy, or you a sellout, And then me, I used to look back to myself, I'm like, man, graffiti is something you do on the street, right? It's something that you do with your boys. You ain't got shit to do. You're a kid. You're a rebel. You don't care. You don't have the mindset of an adult. You at a point in your life, like, you're learning, you're having experiences. And some people, they take their experiences too far and they end up in jail, whatever. But I feel like that right there is a culture. Me growing up, hearing people getting killed over graffiti, hearing people getting locked up over graffiti. And I'm like, man, I do graffiti, but I ain't never get locked up, or I ain't never, been shot at or something like that. Like, what they doing wrong, And then I realized it's just that it's the culture, and what it comes down to is that some people, they believe graffiti is like so much a part of their life. It's so important to them, right? That's expression right there. It's so important that they want to write their name and they want no one to touch it, and they're willing to kill someone for touching the piece they painted on the wall. And I've seen people get killed and shot with throwies. New York got some of the best when it comes to original throwy styles. Like, you see my art has influence of that, but not New York for me is known for the pointy tips, right? So I incorporated that in my art, years ago. But people getting killed over graffiti, it's like, man, it's crazy. So you got some of these people, some of these kings, I'm talking about real kings, they've been doing this for years. Like, they done paid the dues that they say that they paid, and those dudes are living that kind of life. That is culture, that is history. That is more like, if people buy art, I would buy art. That's the reason why I buy art from graffiti artists. And I used to have a bigger collection, but we all have our lives. Things go wrong. You lose things, and you have to rebuild. And that's what happened to me. I rebuilt my life, and I keep moving forward. So I lost a lot of stuff. But when I buy graffiti from a graffiti artist, I'm talking about a real artist. Like, when I have stuff from Scene, Cope to Ewok, I feel like these guys are like, and regardless of what happens now, and the drama that's going on in the art game right now, graffiti, that's talking about, they started this. If it wasn't for them, there would be no drama now. They led like paved that road for like people, for me to come in and people could say, hey, I like graffiti, But you're buying graffiti from me because you like the art form. If you want to pay up some money on graffiti and buy a nice canvas, you're buying it for the reason. What's the reason behind this art? If I buy something from Cope, my man, he been putting in work. You know, he, what happened? He, I'm doing something. He came into this game, he, so like with some of the, with some of the bigger name artists, I had to start this over again because I was cut off. With some of the bigger name artists, if you look at what they've been through, their life story, like if I buy a canvas from them, it could be the stupidest looking thing, but I'm buying it because of who they are. All that freaking pain, all that stuff they went through, they're putting it on the canvas. That's what that is. That's what I see. That's why I want to buy. I'm like, man, this was from this person. This person went through all this stuff. This person, was when this first started. So that's the reason why you're buying art for them, right? And then if you're buying art for me, the graffiti, right? It just that's what I grew up around. I grew up around graffiti, so I just put it into my art. It's an influence of all these different influences of my life. I have graffiti, the fine art, the abstract. This is stuff that I learned when I was training for my art and learning from my art at the same time incorporating things that I've seen around me and things that I like. And it's like I feel like when I use my cute characters, I call them the cute style characters. That's me, the innocent me. The one that was the young kid that you don't have that responsibility. You're free. You feel free. You don't have the adult mind yet. And that's what it is to be a rebel. That's me right there. That's the reason why I have those characters, graffiti style, because that was me growing up in New York. And then I have like the abstract, the fine art, the women, the comic book style. I have all these different things that I incorporate into my art. But going back to the graffiti being like, oh, like the most important expression of art, like I feel like it's the best. It's because of the impact. What did it mean to become a graffiti artist? You're growing up when you were a kid, and it's like, okay, this is don't paint my wall. It's something that you did. It was a culture. It's like hip hop. It's like rap. Break dancing, all that stuff. There was a pastime. That's what it is. Graffiti was a pastime, and it's still done now. But people do it differently today. They want to go out there. They do a picture, and then they do it illegally, and then they put it on IG, and they get caught by the cops because they're doing illegal shit. So they try to like glamorize it, but it's like they don't know why they're doing it. They're only doing it because they think it's cool. That's the same thing I was doing, but the difference is that I know what happens when you do graffiti the wrong way. You go to jail, you get locked up, and all that. I didn't want that. So these kids nowadays, they coming into the game and they think it's okay, I can go paint on the street. These guys been doing longer than me. Why I can't do it? And they get locked up and they go to jail, and then they realize like, damn man, like $4 million later in property damage, like I screwed my life. And you can see those videos online because they're doing it for the wrong thing. They're doing it for it's not for themselves. It's like when you're painting as a graffiti artist, I guess as a writer at a young age, when you paint, why do you paint? It's something that you just do. I'm not gonna paint because I'm gonna make money in 30 years from now. You ain't painting graffiti for an investment. Why are you painting graffiti? Right? You paint graffiti because you just bored, you ain't got shit to do, you just out there with your boys, you wanna go destroy shit. That's why you paint graffiti. You don't paint graffiti because you wanna go, I'm gonna become a graffiti star artist. And that's what these guys are doing nowadays. They're out there doing this stuff. They're trying to be graffiti stars, but they don't know the reason why they want to be graffiti stars. They see that people become famous, but it's because they're famous because they put in their dues, the stuff that they went through, the history of it. That's why. But these guys don't have the history. They're not about the life. So why would you want to claim to be the best? Especially if you're painting in your backyard, right? So if you're painting in your backyard and you're doing a mural, then what does that mean? You're not a writer, you're just an artist, So you paint in the back. So if I buy like Can2, all these guys, like I think they do right, Can2, they paint and they do all their graffiti in their backyards on YouTube. I think they have at their home. I think it's maybe this Can2. I'm not sure, but if I buy a piece from him, I'm buying it because I like the art. Like that art looks cool. It's a graffiti piece. I love graffiti, and I'm buying it because of that. But if I'm gonna buy from Cope, if I'm gonna buy from T Kid, if I'm gonna buy from there's tons of art. I'm just throwing out artists that I remember like as being the kings of the game. If I'm gonna throw out those names, in my opinion, I'm gonna buy that graffiti from them because it has meaning. Like I have people come over and say, "Hey, like what is that?" Like I have right there, like the Duster Scene Metro. I love that. That's New York right there. And then people are like, "Oh, that looks like just squiggles. I like this better." But I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't know what that means. To me, that means something. Right there. That's the reason I got that shit in a frame right there. And I wish I had. Like I had tons of other stuff. Like I sang it again. I can make a video about that if you guys want to know. In the past, because I've been out the game for a while, but art's always drawn me back. I've always realized, like, man, like I love art. When I get in a bad spot and I need to just keep my focus, I paint, but I got to the point. I built empire. I have everything I've always wanted, and I got a family now. I got a beautiful daughter, beautiful wife, and then I realized to myself, man, like, I gotta chase this dream now. Now I have everything I need. I got a studio. I got all the supplies I need. I have all kinds of size canvases over there, door sizes, sizes is kidding me. I have so much stuff now. Now I just want to create and put my work out there. And graffiti is like started this all for everyone. It's like these guys are out there doing graffiti. They made a culture, and then it was influenced on me. And then from there, I transitioned into my art. From there you see me growing up, and then I transitioned that into my art. And I've painted. I've done stuff when I was younger, but like I would never consider myself like the writer out there, the guy that's out there destroying shit. And if I wanted to, I could. When I was in Puerto Rico, I was doing it, but I don't. You really don't post. Like I met so many people out there, like that write wasn't even crazy. But the thing is that like I would do stuff, but it's like people. My cousin wrote by, "Oh, I seen your shit," because I have the fucking tattoos on my arm. But it's like these were places that like no one goes over. This is in Puerto Rico, guys, not like out here in the States. But just to have fun, it's expression. Let me go out there and paint. And you get that that feeling, that adrenaline rush. Yo, someone gonna catch me, and that's the part of it. It's just like you're just doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. Like why is this wrong? Yeah, I don't want nobody to come spraying inside of my house. But that's why I've never done stuff like that, guys. Like, I'm not taking away from the people what they got to do. The culture says you got to steal the paint. Me growing up in Queens and stuff like that, I never go out. I never stole none of my bikes. I have friends that stole stuff. And no offense, growing up now, you look at them now, they're the same kind of person. They're once a criminal, always a criminal type mindset because they don't want to change. You can change that. But me, when I was a young age, I'm like, man, I don't gotta steal nothing. Like me, I want to work hard for my shit. I don't want to be living in New York. From a young age, I always said I want to get out of the hood, and I made it out the hood. And then I'm in the middle of countries, farms over here, horses, stable, and neighbors come over. Man, I'm like, what is this? They don't know what this is. To them, it's cool. It's like, hey man, you're an artist. Like some city stuff in here. Like you got some crazy bikes. Like I've never seen stuff like that because it's out, in the country. I live in Tennessee right now. And I moved out here, for opportunity to get out of the hood, But I want to keep moving, I want to explore, just move around. Life's a journey, guys, and take my art with me. Like I'm so excited to see where I'm gonna be the next 5 years and where my art's gonna be, because I've taken like years off, 2-3 years, and I always come back. I'm like, man, how'd I get better? And then I realized I became a better artist because of work in general, Every time I went to a job, I worked 2 different jobs here. I was employed. They loved me, People tell me to this day I was their best boss. I'm the coolest boss they ever had, and I got the work done. I believe in the hard work. So me working all these businesses, running the show, dealing with the daily operations, dealing with 40 plus employees, and some of these guys, I'm telling you, some of these guys was like they was from East New York. Like you can't even talk to some of these guys. But me being able to, I guess, flow with people, because when you come out here in Tennessee, the hood's out here too. But some of these, these warehouses, they have managers that, like they're middle class American, they don't know how to deal with these people, and I'm gonna say these people because growing up in the hood is a certain kind of person. So me working in that environment, I get along with them. I know what they're gonna do before they do it. Hey, make sure you come back from the bathroom, 10 after. I don't want no, I don't want to have to go looking for you type. A lot of people, they don't say nothing. They fire people, like they lose that kind of respect. I talk to you. I talk it out with you. Hey, I'm going to let you know. Come back late. Second time, third time, chop it, and then they gain your respect. And that's why I've never had an issue. Everyone loved me where you guys see the video, post comments. If you worked with me in the past, tell me I wasn't the best boss you ever had. So with that being said, I incorporated what I learned in business into my art. quality of the product, product going to the customer. That's why I developed FAS Factory Studio, or Studio FAS Factory. So I'm gonna have a lot of production work going on. I'm doing sculptures now. Working on some toy designs. I'm working on some new character design children's books. Turning, expanding the brand a lot more. To what I imagine it to be. And that's the key here, imagination, guys. So with that being said, I know I jumped around a lot in this video. I wanted to stay on topic with the graffiti, but I got thrown off a track because my daughter came in and I had to edit this video and chop it up a little bit. But yeah, I believe graffiti, man. It's just like when it comes to art, for me, graffiti is when it comes to art is the best art. The meaning behind graffiti and everything, I'm always gonna love it, just because they go Julia making an entrance. Just because graffiti, man, it's like it graffiti makes me happy, right? Just thinking about it, because it reminds me of my childhood, but what I can create from it, the influence, it inspired me. So that came from this guy. These guys that started graffiti, the culture. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here creating this. Because that's what kept me always drawing the graffiti. I wouldn't paint for a few years, but somebody, hey, can you do my graffiti hat? Oh, can you do my name? What's the first thing I do when I'm sitting down? I always do graffiti, do my throwing and stuff like that. My artwork, because it was habit. It's something you just wanted to do, and I've always come back to it, and then even till today, the first thing I started doing this month was all my characters, my graffiti style characters. I can do portrait paintings, but I chose the graffiti, man. Graffiti is it has so much meaning. It's like graffiti saved my life, but it's like I feel like I don't want to drag on this video even more. But what I can add is that's what I feel like a lot of the kings of this game, they don't know their value. I feel like it's because they weren't shown. Like me, I left. In order for me to grow in New York, I had to leave. I feel like a lot of people that are the kings of New York, they're still there, And you see the ones that left, they flourish, they become better. Because they're trapped in an area where they're not going to expand. Because there's no one there to put them on the game. Their own parents didn't know the game. So, they learn it from people that's drug dealers. They're on the street, like negative people, And they meet people that's just taking advantage of them. But if they were to actually understand, like, hey, I got to put in some work, brand myself, invest in myself. Instead of investing in these sneakers or all this nonsense, like some of these guys are still doing that. Move on with that. Start investing in yourself. Invest in, having someone help market yourself, your ideas, your books. I would love to read the stories of like Cope, T-Kid, those kind of stories. Like those are fun. They should make movies about that. Like the kid growing up and going out to paint and all this. Like these stories, that's drama, guys. Like you going out, how much stuff I seen growing up because of graffiti, being out on the street, being out late, going out, if you're going to go paint sometime, you and your bike, you grab a paint, let's go paint, it's something you did, and all the stuff you seen growing up in the city. I used to be like 4 or 5, I wouldn't be out till I would be out till like 4 or 5 a.m. in Times Square on my bike with my friend. We'd be riding, cops chasing us, like just, dropping stairs, they were hitting rails, like, oh, the funnest stuff you could do as a kid, and all that because of graffiti. Hey, let's go here to go see this. Let's go take a picture at this wall. Oh, let's go see this wall. It's always an influence around us. So it's hard to say like graffiti is like, if it wasn't for that, a lot of people wouldn't. There would be nothing. I don't think there would be like there wouldn't be no street art scene. There would not be no toy art game. Nothing if it wasn't graffiti. Graffiti started it all.